How about a little bit about Ferguson?
Yeah, so we are the North America's largest plumbing wholesale distributor, HVAC, waterworks. Probably one of the largest companies you've never heard of. Actually, I heard somebody else say that yesterday too. So there was a lot of large companies nobody's ever heard of. So we source product from 35,000 different vendors, about 6 million products in our product file, and growing every day.
It's huge. It's huge. You guys do a ton of business. I've personally done business with you, with your company, not with you, but hopefully we'll get some discounts going soon.
We have a friends and family program.
Do we?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Damn it, built a house 2 years ago. A little too late. But really a cool company and a really great experience when you walk into the showroom floor and look and experience products from yourselves as well as others and how they come together and so on and so forth. But so you leverage technology to support the business. Tell me some of what you're looking to accomplish in heading down your tech road.
Yeah, so part of our core business strategy is acquisition. So last fiscal year, we bought 10 companies. The year before that, 13. And we do it for two reasons. One is to grow local market share for existing product lines or possibly new product lines, and then own brands. So we see the market verticalization, if that's a real word, with our manufacturers and competitors. So we try to get into that space as close to the manufacturing side as possible. So that creates a lot of interesting challenges, always incorporating new product data into our product file. And so trying to get the most efficiency in that process as possible is key for us, because it is very, very simple. I was talking to the head of sales about it a few months ago. I was like, the faster we can get a product sellable, right, get the right attribution at the right place, either in our ERP or in one of our digital channels or through one of our marketplaces, the more likely we are to sell it. And those are real numbers. We actually calculate that every single month based on how much of a product backlog, what kind of line. And so that is my sole focus right now.
You shared with me in previous conversations one of the challenges, and it was kind of, I don't know if you call it a KPI, but the number of days that it takes to bring on a supplier on board or a product on board. Yeah. Are you able to share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I took over this role a little over a year ago, and that was one of the first things I needed to understand. I was like, how bad is it, right? How bad is the bleeding? And it was averaging for all of our channels 39 days from the moment we get the product from a manufacturer or from the branches to the moment we can make it sellable into its first channel. Like, that's completely unacceptable. Yeah. And so we've been working for the last 9-10 months, really mobilizing a combination of people, process, and technology to be able to cut that down.
Yeah. And have you had experience in doing this previously, or is this, you kind of looked at this thing and said, hey, we're going to go tackle this thing. Let's go get it done in a week or a month? Or how do you apply your knowledge and your experience in the ideation of the project into where do we start? How do we tackle this 40 days down to whatever the goals are?
Yeah, so I'm a business person first. I happen to fall into technology. And so I learned how to apply technology to solve a lot of our problems. Earlier in my career, I actually did something similar with customer data. Yeah. And so applied some of those same rules. But this is a big, hairy beast of a problem. I mean, I took over a team of 150 people, again, doing nothing but onboarding product data. So upskilling that talent, figuring out where the talent issues are, yeah. And then also working through some process stream mapping to be able to find where some of the wasteful steps are in that process.
Awesome. So technology comes into play to solve part of the puzzle, right? You just mentioned the people and the process side are certainly part of it. Understanding the business issue and what some of the metrics are that you want to go after. How do you decide when and where to apply the technology to fit in to help out?
Well, like I said, I'm a business person that happens to apply technology, but I love technology, and I love to be able to find those opportunities. And so, again, whenever I took over this role, we were looking at some of the basic blocking and tackling of hey, do we have the right platform? We were using Stibo STEP, so that was one of the evaluations we did. And we said, yes, we absolutely are. Do we have it configured in the most beneficial way? But ultimately, what led us down this path was, how can we remove the human in the loop as much as possible? Mm. And that's when we started looking at machine learning and other general AI.
Yeah. Now, the Stibo component of it becomes really interesting to me. It wasn't a given that Stibo was going to be the go-forward solution. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it was a why not question, I think, that we asked.
Yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't Stibo be the future? But we definitely did our due diligence.
Yeah, you looked at other options, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're moving forward. So what are the challenges that you get from implementing the MDM side? Was it people and knowledge of moving it forward? Was it instilling the goals? How do you tackle that side of things?
So I think first it was getting executive buy-in.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of skepticism because, again, it took a long time to produce not a great product. And so our executive team was looking at this. I'm actually the fourth person in this role. So you know, they were looking at it. Yeah, it's like, let's make sure we don't get to number 5. So up front, I was declaring my intentions, right? Ensuring that everybody understood what the challenges were in non-techie speak, right? I couldn't throw a bunch of 3-letter acronyms at them and, you know, show them, you know, these pie-in-the-sky ideas. We had to get very practical. And so we started off with actually what we call the 100-day plan. And we found targeted areas of opportunity within primarily technology, but also people, and said, we're going to accomplish everything within this first 100 days. And so we could start to build a little bit of momentum and trust with our executive team and the board, and that's what carried us forward. We actually ended that in March of this year, so we've been spending the next 100 days kind of planning this next effort out that's going to take us into 2026.
So you mentioned the people, you mentioned the process, you mentioned Stibo and the MDM aspect of it, but there's more to that from you've brought a different mindset into how to make things more efficient, right? Because we can't just do everything with the people side of things, and in some cases even with the MDM aspect. How have you augmented? Have you leveraged any AI or anything along those lines?
Absolutely. So a big part of that is, again, we get all this product data from 35,000 different vendors from acquisitions, and they have very poor quality.
35,000 per month, per year?
Total, 35,000 total vendors that we engage with on a regular basis, and that grows.
Yeah.
And so on average, the number of products that we add can be anywhere from 40 to 100,000. It just depends. We've done as much as 500,000 in a month.
In a month?
In a month, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, we actually did it this summer. That was our kind of high point. So, and obviously our days to onboard exceeded what we were wanting to do, but we were onboarding a lot of products. But coming back to the technology piece, so all of those, first we had to do, you know, kind of a data profiling exercise. So that's what we do as kind of a pre-processing step. And then every single product has to be categorized in all the different ways, right? So how you buy it, how you ship it, how you store it, how you sell it, how you cost it, all of that kind of stuff. And so whenever I took over, that was a human going line by line in a spreadsheet and saying, okay, this is a commercial faucet and this requires this discount group. So I looked at it and I was like, this is crazy. Like, we can't have, you know, $40,000 a year people sitting across North America doing this, you know, one by one. So we started building a machine learning algorithm. So you got 6 million products correctly categorized, which is actually surprising. So you would think that humans doing this gives you great quality. No. We actually went back and audited it all. They're averaging about 78% accuracy. So we built this machine learning model, and it's now hitting about 92% accurate. And so whenever I went to the executive team, I'm like, hey, we're hitting 92% accuracy. What about the other 8%? Well, let me tell you about the human side of that. So, you know, that's definitely a great story to tell them because, you know, frankly, they don't understand those kinds of details.
Yeah, and not to get too technical, but you've got it kind of tiered, if I understand it right, in terms of you kind of have MDM, Stibo first, and then it's kind of a step approach to whittling that down to make sure it's 92 or better. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. So Stibo is kind of the backbone, that center, the onboarding process where Stibo, everything kind of flows in and out of that. So we build APIs and exit points to be able to do all of these steps.
A little bit of a critical step.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, we couldn't do it without it.
That's awesome. It's something we love to hear. It's also a great responsibility on our part from our product team and our support team to make sure that we're delivering on these kinds of reliability and consistency metrics every day to ensure that you're supported so well. So thank you for that. Where do you see things going? Where are you in the process? You've already made improvements. You were at 39 days or so. You've reduced that already.
Yeah.
And where do you expect to try to get to?
Yeah. So we're at about 21 days now. So we've cut it by almost half in about 9 months. And a lot of that is just low-hanging fruit. Again, like doing talent reviews and seeing how efficient people are, measuring their efficiency.
Yeah.
But also implementing a lot of this technology as well.
And do you plan to continue improving on that, or is that where you want to land?
Absolutely no. I want a zero product backlog and every product onboarded within 48 hours. And that's kind of a lofty goal, and especially whenever you consider, again, the maturity of our vendors and acquisitions and everything else. But I think through these different ways of automation and streamlining the process, we absolutely can. And I didn't talk about this other piece of it too. It's really important, the kind of, before anything ever goes through that onboarding process, we have to find out if the product exists in our product catalog. Again, we sell everything from a 50-cent wax ring that goes underneath a toilet all the way up to a $500,000 nuclear valve. You know, it has an MSDS sheet, you know, like a file that thick, and takes 6 months to make. And we sell everything in between, right? Decorative products and lighting and, you know, commercial valve actuation, like all this weird stuff. And it's really hard to be able to build a single data model that can, you know, facilitate all of those different needs. So the first thing that we have to do is match that data, find out if it exists or not. And so we've also been using machine learning to do that as well.
You know what? I need a nuclear valve. So that's something ours just broke, and so I need to maybe talk to you about that one. What do you see the future being? Where do y'all?
So all of this sounds great, but all I'm doing is fixing a problem, right? Like why, you know, if you look at my budget and everything else, we're spending a giant 8-figure number to go just do the things that we need to do to be able to do business. What I want to do is essentially reduce that down to the point of where, you know, it's running on its own, and it's, you know, we're spending less money and labor and tech and everything else, so we can go do the other things because our customer needs are changing, and we've got to be able to keep pace with them. We're getting more into 3D modeling and partnering with our vendors, and that takes labor, believe it or not. That takes, you know, a human in the middle to be able to at least, you know, quality check and things like that. So when you start compiling all of these little pieces together of the technology that's being introduced, I actually see a better end-to-end experience for our customers. And so if you think about, you know, the onboarding process plus augmented reality plus 3D building information modeling, you can really create a great experience, be it the consumer, be it the contractor, right, for a big, you know, hotel build or whatever else. So imagine, you know, you've got a crew of I don't know, fire and fab people coming into a building, and they're trying to understand how the sprinkler system works in this building. They throw on their Apple Vision Pro goggles, and they can physically see where all of those pipes are going to go. So one of the biggest challenges we have in the construction industry is all about productivity, right? So there was actually a great podcast on that recently, but it hasn't gone down, right? Productivity cost has not gone down, and actually it's getting worse and worse because of regulation and safety rules and everything else. And so anything that we can do to support our customers to cut out that waste in their construction process by giving them great data, then that's where I want to go.
That's amazing. The whole spatial computing just seems like it's right there, right? It's built on foundational data. I mean, it has to be accurate. It has to be, you know, measured and precise and timely, et cetera. Kyle, who's been running a lot of the show here for us and has done a number of these programs for us, was explaining to me backstage the other day that all of these screens are set up with a framework, and they each have a little clip, and each one is spaced X, and he, in preparation for this event, puts on the goggles and takes a look at what's the room going to be like, how's this going to fit. So he has to know exactly how big all of this is and how big the room is, and how each piece, the size of each component and where it fits and such. And he does that from home now, as opposed to flying here and so on and so forth. And you know, and so extrapolate that out to where you just put it in terms of construction and the hundreds of thousands of pieces and parts and components and things like that. But none of it works unless your data's.
It all starts with data.
Yeah, that is cool. That will extend into the retail space, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, imagine walking into one of our showrooms and saying, hey, I like these colors, these patterns, you know, this style, and we can build an entire kitchen through a digital experience. We may not even have products on the showroom floor anymore, right? May not need it.
Yeah.
Our showroom turns into a big black box you just stand in with goggles on. So
Yeah. I've started doing it with glasses. When I re-up with glasses, they've got the little thing where you can put your face in front of it. And every time I'm like, ugh, I need a better face. It's not the glasses. Anyway, well, this is great. Absolutely fantastic to have you here on stage. We appreciate it. We expect to have you here next year and not somebody else from Ferguson. So, right? So we want you to,
yes.
to be successful.
Let's hope.
And so let's cheer for Brandon to be back next year.